Yes, man. I'm excited for UFC. What did you guys been doing to keep up with like MMA? Like, have you guys gone back and watched some old fights? Anything like that?
There's been a lot on television, and talking about the fights has been, I guess, our way of staying sane.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go back and watch too much of the old stuff,
Mm-hmm.
except for when it's time to break down the fights. Um, but if it's on, I'm glued to it. I just don't go out of my way to do it. I think I'd rather read the stories that are put out today and just kind of stay on top of that, discuss it with people, rather than go into UFC Fight Pass or ESPN Plus and just dig that stuff out. No, but if
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting there and all of a sudden the fight appears, I'm glued to it. And I think the reason why I don't do that is because it can be like one of those YouTube rabbit holes where next thing you know, you're typing in, you know, gang fights or street fights or fights in Yankee Stadium, and next thing you know, 2 hours have gone by and all you've sat there is be mesmerized by whatever topic is on the table. So that's why I don't do it too often.
What did you think about how April 18th happened? Didn't happen actually, and the fights just were postponed like a week out. Was that so disappointing? But you think they made the right call?
I didn't want it to happen, honestly. I didn't like the way they were skirting the normal process of basically, fighting under the umbrella of a commission, whatever state they're in, or even when they just self govern themselves. It all just seemed too shady, where they were packing up a tent and going to this city. Oh, they're not allowing us to go there. Well, then how about here? And then when John McCarthy was on our show last week, he basically reiterated all that, but just put it way more eloquently than I am. It's just not what we are now. That's something that they did pre-Zuffa era, and they had to keep the sport alive because it barely had a pulse. But then they ran towards regulation rather than away from it, and we set up a universal set of rules, and now we were legitimate. With the politicians. Remember Senator McCain from Arizona was very against our sport, calling it human cockfighting and things like that. But once we were able to go and get regulated in all 50 states, all the provinces in Canada, and now many of the countries are it's legal. Look at the way the sports flourished.
Yeah.
So it was just a matter of 3 weeks ago. We didn't know what we know now, Sean, and John McCarthy said that the top referees wouldn't have been able to do that show anyway. So no fans, not even the top referees are going to be there. All these states are on lockdown. Just the timing of it wasn't right.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it made the right decision for not letting it go ahead. But I'm really excited for it to be back. I think it's hopefully going to be safe. Like I really don't know. My concern is like where they're going to get the fighters for medical afterwards.
Yeah, take a look at just in the last fight card alone, UFC 248. We had a main event of Yoel Romero and Israel Adesanya. Well, I don't think either guy had to go to the ER because
Right.
not much striking went on, in that fight. But
Mm-hmm.
what about the fight before that? That
Yeah.
was a crazy fight with Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Weili Zhang. You know what I mean? They both went to the hospital. Joanna was really, really messed up, but they both needed to go to the hospital here in Las Vegas. So not only did we have like one fighter that needed to go, both fighters from one fight needed to go. And I
Yeah.
don't even know what the rest of the infirmary report was, but yeah, something like that can happen. And what we definitely don't want is we want them to have the best attention,
Mm-hmm.
that's out there for them. They deserve that. But at the same time, if you're in a city where it's overwhelmed by COVID-19 patients and they're already overwhelmed, then how are we going to put these athletes, in that position and put, a city, whatever particular hospital that is nearby, how are we going to put them in that situation? I think that's what the UFC's done here with the state of Florida. They've probably gone to a city where the arena's available, the hospital system's going to be there and available, for if any of the athletes need to go and get any sort of attention. So I think they've scouted all that out. But these last 3 weeks, a lot of those states have flattened their curve and started to open up again. So I think right now we just sit in a way better position than we did 3 weeks ago.
But let's get into the fights because I'm really excited to return to UFC. It seems like forever, literally, since we've had the UFC on, doesn't it? Let's dig right into it. Cowboy Cerrone and Anthony Pettis. When this fight was announced last week, what was your reaction?
I just thought, why? This card doesn't need them. I'd rather these two just headline a future card like in about a month or two. But this card doesn't need it. I know it's a pay-per-view, and I know Dana White wanted to make have a huge bang. But especially after seeing Cowboy saying I didn't want to be there. Well, do you want to be there this week? I don't know. I mean, I guess he's got a little bit more incentive to avenge a loss, but come on, man. I don't think that's more of an incentive than beating Conor McGregor and hanging an L on him. So I'm not going to turn down Anthony Pettis versus Cowboy Cerrone. We both know they're on the downsides of their career. They're still two of the top 20 in their division. But I just think this fight probably could have. I'd rather see them fight different people. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting fight just because the first one was so quick and Anthony Pettis was on that rise then. I mean, I don't think Anthony Pettis is going to get to that level ever again. I mean, that's my personal opinion. I don't know about his drive at this point. It seems like he's very satisfied, with wealth in his life, with success in his life early on. That, I don't know if it's in him to make another run at the title. But I think he's a guy you could put in big fights. And this one is not a huge fight for me, but it's still noteworthy. And they're putting it at the right slot, which is the prelim main event. So they're going to get the most viewers and leading up into the. I think Cowboy's going to show up in this fight. I think he's not going to make it easy. But I have Anthony Pettis win by decision. I think Anthony Pettis has got better striking at this point. I think he's just got enough to put away Cerrone and make it convincing. I've given him a decision.
Pettis and a finish in round 3.
Round 3. I don't know. I just think Cowboy's going to come ready to fight. I think he's going to try and make it entertaining. Mm-hmm. And it might be closer than we think. We'll stick to the main card. Unless you have anything to talk about during the prelims that were announced.
Yeah, I do want to say Uriah Hall, he trained at Extreme Couture for a while, and I really like that guy. I didn't like him at first because I think he got too caught up in the whole, well, I used to get bullied, and that's why I am the way I am. But then he had this off-putting type vibe of his personality that didn't sit well with me because I thought, okay, you're not necessarily bullying physically, but you just kind of like were letting people know, hey, look, I'm an athlete, and I know you want to talk to me, but I'm not going to do my best here come interview time because I just have this chip on my shoulder. But, man, he lost that a few years ago, and now if you have a conversation with him, he's actually a cool guy to chat with. And I'm glad that that's over, and I don't think he has as much disdain that he had towards fans and media. I think he figured out, look, media's doing their job, and fans are either going to gravitate or not. And if they don't, hey, look, it's not a bad thing. Just keep fighting because fans, no matter what, even if you dislike Uriah Hall, you got to respect the fact that he's an exciting fighter, and you pay attention to his fights. And, him and Jacare are a little bit older now. He's got a formidable striking game, but it's the ground game where he's super dangerous. Uriah Hall, he knows that he's got to keep. He's never going to submit Jacare, but as long as that takedown defense is there and he can keep the fight standing, then hey, he has a great chance of knocking out Jacare. So let's see what happens, man. I'm pumped up for him. I still keep an eye on him and cheer for him, even though he's no longer at Extreme Couture. He's now at Fortis MMA, but I'm gonna be watching that one closely. That's another one. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of fights on the card that I like, but on the undercard, that's one that I'm really, really going to be on the edge of my seat for.
Yeah, one fight from the undercard I like is Verdum and Olenek. I mean, that's going to be a nice heavy.
Can you imagine if that one hits the ground?
Yeah.
Olenek, he's not shabby when it comes to his submission game, but Verdum's another whole other category. You know what I mean? And Verdum hasn't fought in 2 years, so can't wait to see what he's got to offer. Does he still got gas left in the tank to be a contender? We'll see.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting fight. I think it's going to be a fun one. I'd have to go with Verdum on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Not the safe bet at this point,
Yeah.
but I'm going with Verdum. I think he has the caliber to keep on going in the heavyweight division. I know the 2 years is detrimental for his career, but I feel like this is a winnable fight for him, and he's going to continue up the rankings. And then we'll get to the main event, or the main card rather, and it's Greg Hardy and Yogan De Castro. And when you see Greg Hardy get in that cage, man, he's got unleash. He just unleashes unbridled power. I enjoy seeing him fight. He's a guy that really is, when he's honed in, and he's very accurate, and then he can just finish a fight. And that's what you look for, those guys to become contenders, real quick and come up top. I mean, his last fight, obviously, we know about what happened with the whole breathalyzer and stuff like that. But you know what?
Hey, let's see how he responds after that loss to Volkov, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Hopefully he learned a lot there and realized, hey, look, I can't just swing away. I got to develop new attacks.
Yeah.
I got the heavy hands, but how am I gonna penetrate a force field when I fight someone who's got a longer reach than I do, or just has more experience than I do? Can I develop some sort of a takedown game? Can I swallow my pride and not have to knock everyone out? Can I take someone down and slowly dismantle them? We'll see. Yorgan De Castro's got some heavy hands too. This will be really, really interesting to see how this one plays out. And then, of course, Hardy is, he's asthmatic. So a guy like that is one of the guys I was concerned about for COVID-19. It attacks your lungs, and he can't afford to get it, man, because I heard even those that recover from COVID-19 have got residual, damage to their lungs. So I don't think that would be a good situation for him. But again, now we're getting into the whole medical side of things that as of this point, I'm programmed to think that all the guys and gals are going to show up, they're going to perform, and they're all going to get home safe and well. So I'm going to go with the upset, De Castro, in this one.
You are okay. Finish.
Yeah. Someone's going to sleep.
I think so too. I am going the opposite of you. Going with a big finish for Greg Hardy. I think he comes back rolling with a big finish.
I wouldn't be shocked if that happened too. Hardy's powerful. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. The next fight is Stevens and Cater, and that's going to be an exciting one. 145 pounds. I'm excited for this one. How about you?
I am. Stevens is just proven himself over, the last 10 years as a UFC fighter. He's fought everybody. But that said, he's a little older in the game now, and his fights just as of late, you could tell he's starting to pick up some of those losses to either, a veteran like Aldo or just the young guys that are coming through. And I think Cater is one of those guys, an up-and-coming guy. Not necessarily a baby. It's not like he's a teenager or anything like that, but still just a guy that's heading upward who has not as much power as Stevens per se, but not far behind, but way better techniques when it comes to boxing.
And so if you had to pick one, what do you think?
Cater's going to win this.
Yeah, finish or submission?
Oh, yeah. No, there'll be a finish here, and I think it'll be Cater by TKO stoppage.
Yeah, same here. I got Cater as well. I think he's gonna. I agree with everything you said. You kind of took my points away from me, for sure. And then getting back to UFC 249, of course. Getting back to that, we're going to Francis Ngannou and Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Going to be a fine one. I'm looking forward to this one. Obviously, I was looking forward when it was originally supposed to be It was supposed to be at the card after March 14th. I think it was like the March 21st card, and it's got postponed. Now they moved it to pay-per-view. I think a lot's on the line. I think there is a number one contendership that's going to be given to the winner. and I think it's going to be a slugfest.
Yeah, no doubt. I think the UFC has gone through the relationship with Francis Ngannou, where he was really, really like one of their babies. About 5 years ago, no, 3 to 5 years ago, somewhere in that pocket, somebody told me, he goes, "Hey man," he goes, "You know who Dana's?" It was when the PI had first opened or something, and somebody told me, he goes, "I know who Dana White's three teachers' pets are," and I go, "Like, you mean his favorites?" He goes, "Yeah," and I go, "Well, you mean aside from the Connors?" He goes, "No, no, no." He goes, "Three stars that he thinks are gonna be his new Connor and Ronda and all that." I go, "Who are they?" He goes, "Ngannou." It's somebody in the know. Ngannou, Yair Rodriguez, and Cynthia Calvillo.
Really?
Yeah.
I
And
thought the relationship was kind of rough between Cynthia and
yeah, I
Dana.
remember at one point Yair got cut, and then
Yeah,
Francis,
that's what I was
I
thinking.
think, I think Francis, it's something that he didn't sit well. I think it was when he fought Miocic and he took off
Yeah.
the France, came back, and then he was huffing and puffing in round two, and with Calvillo, I don't know that she's ever dropped off. I think maybe she's still one of his favorites because she's just
Well,
tough. She's just like got a little bit of that Diaz. She's like a Diaz sister. You know what I mean?
that's true. Well, she didn't do herself any favors with the marijuana system.
Yeah, the marijuana thing and then missing weight. In the
And she
USADA era, there's no reason to get caught for marijuana. Honestly, they're pretty lax when it comes to that. But I guess all three of them had a little bit of, I don't know, I wouldn't say like a falling out, but anyway, I think Ngannou's back, and I think Dana realizes if France France now can regulate MMA, and it's just a matter of getting that first show going. And then the continent of Africa is producing great athletes in
Yes.
all kinds of sports: NFL, soccer, MMA, and Francis just has the look. He's not sloppy. I mean, he's well put together. He got over that the mental thing. Remember him and Lewis? Derek Lewis got in there and didn't throw at all.
Who's there?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And now he's got a little bit of wind in the sail. He doesn't get tired. In the second round, he's got that experience. I think the UFC realizes, wow, we could have ourselves a huge star after Cormier and Miocic are done, which Cormier is probably going to be done after this next fight, win or lose.
Yeah.
And Miocic, who knows? I mean, sometimes I think Miocic is just not as interested in the sport as he once was. I don't know. But I think they're hoping he wins. I'm picking Ngannou for sure, but I think the UFC has now probably fallen in love with him all over again.
I think so as well. And big wins against Cain Velasquez, Dos Santos, the former champions. That also is a feather in your cap.
Yeah, and he's got Curtis Blaydes. Curtis Blaydes has a lot of juice right now in that division, but because he's 0-2 against Ngannou, there's really not much he can do. As long as Ngannou is winning, I don't think Blaydes can get a whiff at a title shot. I think Ngannou's first. If Ngannou were to stumble, well, Curtis Blaydes might be able to step up then because he's got a nice, impressive win streak going.
Did you hear about the Curtis Blaydes drama with
Gonzalez?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess originally it didn't start with her directly. It was just basically him versus females. And I guess, yeah, them two kind of had an exchange. And if I'm not mistaken, they're from your neck of the woods, right? They're from the Windy City or that area.
Well, so, they don't live there, but
yeah,
they're from there. Yeah.
Their origins are, I think, there. And so I did see that. And, I mean, look, I understand what both of them are saying.
Yeah.
A little truth to what both of them are saying, but why go there? You know what I mean? We live in a day and age where whatever it is you're feeling at that moment, you can't just necessarily put it out into the universe, even though a lot of people might agree, because it's just not good for your career.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think there's just times where if it's not worth it, man, you just got to play by the rules that life has thrown at us right now. You know what I mean? And right now, like if you're somebody that maybe wants to seek a sponsorship or just be in, the good graces with the promotion, I think there's just certain topics you probably want to get away from. Or even if you want to start your own YouTube channel, anything that requires followers or whatever. And I think in the long run, it's just not the best practice.
We're moving forward to the co-main event. Getting back to the actual fight card, is Cejudo and Cruz. And at the 135-pound division, you know, obviously Henry Cejudo is really trying to run the gamut. I think he's trying to take out everyone he can in this division. He wants to be known as the best. Triple C. He wants to, you know, possibly go up. I'm not sure if that's, you know, feasible, but he's talked about that. He's talked about fighting women champions, which is never going to happen, of course. But, you know, I think he's running the gamut, and I think Dominic Cruz is next. It was either Cruz or Faber. I think it was one of those two that he was. Actually, it was Aldo as well. But I think it's Cruz, Aldo, and Faber he wants to put to rest. Meanwhile, we still have so many other 135-pounders that are more deserving of this title shot. So what were your thoughts when Cruz got the nod?
Well, I would have preferred that once Aldo was out, that they looked to Sterling. But Sterling had already put something out where he said he was 70% back from a forearm injury. He actually told me that himself the week of UFC 248. So that was, what, 2 months ago?
Yeah,
you know, maybe he's back to 100% now. Maybe he's at 90. I don't know. But 2 months ago, he told me it was about 70% back. And he did say by summer he'd be fighting. But one thing he was very clear about is he put it out in the media. He didn't want to do have a fight without being able to go in his gym and have a proper camp. He was really, really observing what was happening right now with COVID-19. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't going to be one of those fighters that on 3 weeks' notice was just going to go in there. So I think that eliminated him. Peter Yan was stuck in Thailand. I thought it was Russia, but apparently he was in Thailand. Okay. So he couldn't step up. Then the last guy you could have maybe gone to was Corey Sandhagen, who has 2 credible wins recently. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's got 5 wins in the UFC, but 2 of them where you really go, okay, look, he's proven himself. One's John Lineker, and the other one's Pedro Munoz. And so they probably could have gone with him instead of Cruz. I'm not against Cruz altogether. I realize he's one of the all-time greats in the bantamweight division. The guy hasn't fought in 3.5 years, and he's coming off a loss. I mean, he got waxed against Garbrandt. You know what I mean? So I just don't know, man. I'm more of the guy that I believe in the playoff system. You know, and these aren't official playoff games per se. You know, that's what the PFL does. Right. But these wins and losses gotta mean something. They have to mean something. And first we went through the whole Aldo and Moraes. If Aldo wins, he gets a title shot. All right, you know. Moraes wins, but we're still gonna give Aldo the title shot. It's like, what the fuck did they fight for then?
Yeah, they talk about.
I get that Moraes just fought Triple C, but then they shouldn't have built it up that way. Right. And so then you got these other 3 guys that I just talked about, Sterling, Yan, and Sandhagen. And, I mean, can't one of those guys slip in? Now they bring in Cruz, another guy working off a loss. I just imagine if Ngannou wins. Yeah. And then we'll say Miocic wins. But then Dana White goes, we're still going to put in Rosenstruck, even though he lost to Ngannou. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? It's just it would baffle me, man. It would baffle me, and so I don't like that. I don't like that.
So you have Cejudo winning the fight, I assume.
I think Cejudo's gonna win the fight. He's just clicking, man. These last few years, it's hard to overlook him. I've overlooked him too many times, and I paid the price. I picked Demetrius against him in the second fight. Mm-hmm. I picked Dillashaw against him. And I picked Marlon Moraes against them, all for different reasons, but Cejudo proved me wrong. So I got to go with the guy that's clicking, and Cruz hasn't fought in a while.
Nice. Welcome to Triple C Club. I know, man.
I like Triple C, man. To me, he's not cringy. I get what he's doing, so I get a kick out of it.
Yeah, I stopped going against him after Demetrius Johnson because I wanted him to win the fight. I just didn't think he had what it took to go and get it done. And then we'll get to the main event finally, and it's Ferguson Gaethje. And I love this fight for a lot of different reasons. I love the fact that they're willing to throw down during this time. Looks like every other fighter on the card. They're willing to throw down during this time. They have my respect. for doing that, and they're both crowd pleasers. I've never seen them in a boring fight that I can remember in recent history.
Yeah. So in this fight, I had to turn in my pick for MMA Junkie staff picks today, and I must have typed Gaethje and Ferguson's name like 2 times each and kept deleting and going with the other guy because I kept playing out the fight in my head based off everything I've seen. And you know what it was at the end that had me finally just go with Ferguson? He hasn't lost in 10 years.
Yeah.
And I've seen Gaethje lose, a couple times to tough guys, man. He lost to Eddie Alvarez and he lost to Dustin Poirier. And both of those guys, Gaethje had them in trouble, but they were able to come back. Ferguson, just at some point, you got to just you just got to leave the reasoning as simple as, man, no one's been able to stop him. He seems to have an answer to almost every type of fighter out there. I don't like that in some of his fights, Castillo, Lee, Pettis. I mean, there's guys that have hurt him, and really had him, he's had to earn the victories. But that said, he hasn't lost in 10 years. He's only lost once as a UFC lightweight. That's a competitive division. And I've seen Justin Gaethje do great work. I've cheered for that guy because I knew when he was fighting at WSOF, I knew he was one of the top lightweights. He just wasn't getting the respect until he came over to the UFC. So it took me a lot to go with Ferguson and go against Gaethje because I love rooting for underdogs.
Yeah.
But I just think at the end of the day, man, Ferguson is just clicking right now. He may very well be the best lightweight in the world. Of course, we won't know who is until one of these two fights Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Yeah.
I'm going for
I think Khabib Nurmagomedov is Ferguson's fight. I know deep in my heart that we are going to see this fight within the next year.
This fight has to. I think the only one that can end it early, I think, is Gaethje. But I think this fight will go into the later rounds, and I think Ferguson might snag a choke or something like that. One of them front chokes he's famous for, or maybe it'll go to a decision. I don't know, but I think Ferguson will win.
Yeah, I think Ferguson has it, and I'm going with a finish as well. I think he gets it done by submission. Well, George, I appreciate your time on Talking Shop, as always, being very generous with your time. And tell everybody how to check out MMA Junkie podcast.
Mondays and Thursdays at MMAJunkie.com. We drop MMA Junkie Radio at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. So check it out. Myself and Goz talking, just like with Sean here, about all the latest news in this wacky sport of ours, breaking down fights, recapping fights. We have a blast doing it there. And you can check out our video series, The Spinning Back Click, which drops Tuesdays at MMA Junkie. So thank you very much for having me. Thanks for for your support of our show for all these years as well.
Oh, for sure. Thank you for your support and coming on. We look forward to those pictures of you rocking the Fightlete shirts.
You know it.
Yeah, and we'll enjoy those fights. I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about later on next month.
All right, I look forward to it.